Best scene of rendering room. Interior airport bus day. Ryan is crammed in the bus along with a multitude of tourists heading to the airport. Ryan seems to look as if he didn't get any sleep last night. People keep pushing against his 2 bundles of luggage.
Well, this trip has taught me a lesson. I will never pack like this ever again. Plastic shopping bag for a week's travel from now on.
Interior Ciampino Airport check-in counters day. Ryan stands there waiting to get his luggage checked in. He feels someone poke him from behind. He expects one of the other people he took the class with last week. Before he turns around, he talks to himself.
Please don't be Nikki. Please, oh please, let it not be Nikki. I don't think I could handle her anymore.
He looks back. It is the group of guys he met up heading into Rome on the tour bus. His expression mellows, and the guys each pop their heads so he can see each and every one of them.
What's up?
Nothing much, you?
We had a blast! When's your flight?
In an hour and a half, to Newark. Flight 1069.
Ours too! Guess we're on the same flight.
The group of guys get up to the counter to check in and head for the security check-in area. And then after some minutes, they head down to the departing gate. Interior airplane day. Ryan settles into his window seat. The doors are closed and the engines begin to wind up. The airplane moves and it starts to pull away from the gate. Jacob is 2 seats over from him in the same row. There is a man sitting behind Jacob in the next row speaking in a foreign language that he cannot place. Ryan does not understand any of the words, but every 7th word or so that is rambled on, he can distinguish "Mum" in a rising, whining tone. He starts to laugh to himself as Jacob looks over at him.
What?
Nothing.
Ryan looks out the window again. Jacob leans his chair back, but the whining man pushes it up. Ryan looks over. Jacob tries it again, but again the chair is pushed back up.
What the? Hey man, give me a break.
A flight attendant comes over to Jacob.
Any problem?
This guy will not let me lean back my chair.
I'll talk to him.
Don't think he'll get that far. He speaks a strange sounding language.
She leans over and points to the chair that Jacob can lean his back on. The man allows it to do so, but as soon as the flight attendant walks away, the man pushes the seat again.
Hey man, what the bleep?
A flight steward walks over and checks out the situation.
What is wrong?
This dude won't let me lean back.
I'll talk to him.
He doesn't speak English. You're wasting your breath.
The flight steward leans over and with a louder tone of voice speaks to the man.
It is his right to have the seat back.
The whining man looks down and shows signs that he understands. The flight steward walks away to the back. Ryan leans back and closes his eyes. A moment later, the man speaks again in his whine.
Mama!
Jacob grumbles and tries to ignore this whole situation as the plane taxis to the runway for takeoff. Ryan smiles as he opens one eye again and then closes it. Interior airplane day. All passengers are into different in-flight activities. Watching the in-flight movie, listening to other electronic devices, reading various materials. Jacob seems to ignore his unruly neighbor and has dozed off. Ryan is staring out the window and shutting his eyes intermittently. The flight attendant gets on the cabin intercom.
We will be landing in Shannon, Ireland in 20 minutes. You will be allowed to deplane for 1 hour.
Ryan leans back and looks out the window at the landscape. Interior airplane day. The passengers are reboarding the plane at Shannon Airport as the flight attendants prepare for takeoff. People carrying trinkets and souvenirs to prove they were in Ireland, even if it was only an hour. Ryan gets back to his seat and sits. The foreign man is rambling on in his incessant whine. Ryan turns his head and looks out the window as Jacob sits back in his seat next to him. Interior airplane day. As the majority of passengers and few stragglers get into their seats, the intercom is heard crackling on.
It seems we have an issue with the plane's manifest. I regret we will have to deplane to try and rectify it. Sorry for the inconvenience.
The passengers seem to be slightly annoyed by this, but quietly oblige the captain's request to deplane. Interior plane gangway day. The passengers are cramped into the long gangway to the airport building that leads to the waiting departing airplane.
Please have your boarding passes out as we get you reseated. Thank you for your patience.
A few passengers grumble slightly, but mostly are compliant to the request. Interior airplane late afternoon. Ryan looks at his watch. He looks at the other passengers who seem restless. A flight attendant comes by, and he catches her attention.
When are we going to leave? This is pathetic. They've checked our passes 3 times.
We found 3 extra people on the plane that were not here before.
Jacob's friend leans around on his seat. An airport official moves down the aisles looking at the boarding passes of the passengers. This time they have not been deplaned, but allowed to stay in their seats.
Yeah, 3 women had babies while we were waiting here at the gate.
A man who is downing a lot of liquor joins this conversation.
Yeah, we have entered the twilight zone. Lynch 'em. Free dinner to whoever narcs on the person next to you.
We will try this one more time. Please have your boarding passes ready.
He repeats it in Italian so that others who only speak Italian can comply. A little kid goes running down the aisle with a water pistol in his little hand.
Look, a Shiite in training.
We're the party, and we're taking over this plane. Raid the liquor cabinets. Free drinks for everyone!
Eventually, with no word on the board pass progress of the search, the doors are closed and the engines are revved up. Ryan looks at the flight attendant. He calls her over by a wave.
So, did they find the 3 extras?
Not to my knowledge.
Nice. I feel reassured about this return flight even more with that information.
The plane begins to move down the runway and taxi for takeoff. Suddenly, there is a muffled pop and one of the cabin doors is partially opened. The flight steward that is near it quickly jumps up and secures it. Ryan looks at this, as most passengers have failed to notice it. He rolls his eyes and leans back in his chair. The airplane accelerates and heads for takeoff. Exterior, airplane takeoff, early evening. The airplane climbing off the runway towards a dark storm cloud that starts to cover the gorgeous sunset that shines over the airport. As the plane continues to climb away from a dark cloud with a banking turn, there comes another plane going in for a landing. It nearly hits the bottom of the climbing plane.
I've kept a good diary, and these past 2 hours finish it off nicely. If we could shake this turbulence, I would feel much better.
The airplane jostles as it climbs into the sky at a very steep angle. Interior airplane in flight, late evening. Ryan looks out the window at the approaching storm. He grasps the arm of the seat, revealing his uneasiness with storms and flying. He seems to take a few breaths to calm himself. The cabin is quiet as the other travelers have settled for the long flight over the Atlantic. A few moments later, the silence is broken. The foreign man begins talking again. Ryan's eyes burst open for a second. He shakes his head and begins to laugh to himself.
What's so funny?
It's just this guy behind us is so funny. Every 7th word is a whining mama.
What are you talking about?
Just listen.
He does, and on cue, Mama is heard. Ryan laughs and looks at Jacob.
See, I told you. Now I won't be the only one who notices.
Mama is heard, and Ryan begins to laugh again.
Oh, thanks. I'll kill you for pointing that out.
Mama! Mama!
Exterior airplane in flight, late evening. A blot of lightning and a heavy clap of thunder rumbles near the plane as it heads into the forbidding near black and green storm clouds and disappears on its course over the ocean.
Someone get me a Valium.
The end.